Yoga Stories Project Podcast, episode number 41. Hi, and welcome to Yoga Stories Project. Each session, I talk with yogis about their life and practice. I do this to inspire and empower you to bring yoga and mindfulness into your life. Who am I? I'm Hunter Clark-Fields, Mindfulness Mama Mentor. I coach smart, accomplished, overstressed moms on how to cultivate mindfulness in their daily lives. I've been practicing yoga and mindfulness for over 20 years and have taught thousands of women worldwide. Hey there, my friend. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so glad you're here today. Today's episode number 41 is not an interview. It is an episode about mindfulness during transitions. And I'm going to tell you the story about how mindfulness saved my freaking life. It really changed everything for me. And I hope that this really inspires you. And I would love to thank for an iTunes review, but no iTunes reviews this time. So listen, I have an awesome idea and I'm really excited to do. So if you haven't left me an iTunes review yet, I would really love for you to leave one. Go ahead and do that. And I know it's kind of a pain in the butt and it takes a little bit of your time. So for you to take that effort for me and to help support this podcast, I would like to really thank you. So this is what I'm doing. When you go leave an iTunes review, then I would like to thank you the old-fashioned way. I would like to write you a handwritten note to properly thank you for what you're doing. So go ahead and go to iTunes, leave a review, and then email me your review at hunter@hunteryoga.com. Like email me your review and your name in iTunes so I know who you are. And also email me your mailing address and I will be sending you a handwritten thank you note to connect with you personally and really show my appreciation because it really helps support the podcast. So leave your review and then email me at hunter@hunteryoga.com. So go ahead and do that. And of course, the best way to support this podcast is to share it, to tell your friends. And that really helps a lot. This episode is sponsored by Present Mama Community. We are really focusing on our coaching calls on Present Mama Community. We get together twice a month, and these mamas, you bring your questions, you bring your conundrums, and you hear other people sharing their questions and conundrums, and you get this support that we really need. And it's interesting because sometimes it's like the last thing we want to spend money on or invest on is like ourselves, right? We think that we are being good parents if we just give everything to our children. But the thing is, our children need us. They need us grounded and peaceful and present. That's really the best gift we can give them. It's so much better than any kind of stuff. So I encourage you to go check out presentmamacommunity.com. And if you sign up and you mention that you signed up by hearing about it on the podcast, I will give you a bonus 45-minute coaching session with me. And that will just really help you get you started. And it'll be lovely to connect. So presentmamacommunity.com is this incredible support community. You get all these resources. You get these coaching calls every month. And it's only $30 a month. So please go check it out, presentmamacommunity.com. Okay, now you're ready to hear a little bit more about mindfulness? On to this episode. Hey, this is Hunter Clark-Fields, and welcome to Yoga Stories Project. Today we're going to talk about how mindfulness can help us through various transitions in our life. And mindfulness is really at the heart of yoga. The purpose of yoga in that big sense is to observe and understand our body and mind so that we can have more self-regulation and more ease and peace in our lives. And that's exactly what mindfulness does, as you're going to see. So it really is at the heart of yoga, and mindfulness practices can really help us through various changes in our lives, keeping us grounded through this incredible roller coaster that we call life. So first, I want to tell you about how it helped in some transitions in my life and actually how it really totally changed my life. All my life, I had suffered from a steady series of deep lows. I would have some intense highs and I'd have some intense lows, possibly on a bipolar spectrum. I don't really know. But I would regularly go through that, and I suffered from anxiety. And I remember my father telling me that, this is just how life is going to be for me. It's my artistic temperament. And that was really not so reassuring for me. Realizing that this is how life was always going to be was not such a great message for me. So I started reading about mindfulness and practicing yoga and doing those things as a teenager. And I read about mindfulness and meditation for about 10 years before I finally was able to sit down and practice. So at 27 years old, I said, I'm going to be able to do this mindfulness practice. And in fact, it came after I'd done my month-long yoga teacher training and had done a few meditations there. I said, okay, I can do it now. So I sat down 5 or 6 days a week for starting with 10 minutes in the morning. And then I moved up to 15 minutes. And I remember thinking, after 2 or 3 months, I just sit here and I'm just sitting here thinking the whole time. All I'm doing is thinking. This is I can't do this meditation thing. And this is the thought that every meditator thinks. And what happened is I realized, as I had this thought, I also looked back on my life in the last 2 or 3 months, and I realized that I actually hadn't gone into any of those pits, any of those deep lows of depression that I had gone into on a regular basis for my whole life. And it was really nothing short of a miracle. I mean, for me, it was the most radical change in my life. I had gone through different periods of self-care that have made significant changes in my life. I practiced running. I learned to run mindfully. I practiced yoga. I learned those things. But when I brought mindfulness meditation practice into my daily life, it really changed everything. It brought so much peace and equanimity into my life, and it really allowed me to step out in a bigger way than I'd ever had before. So practicing mindfulness really helps us stay grounded and have that equanimity to stay grounded through the various transitions in my life. At 27 years old, when I was starting my mindfulness practice, it was a time of major transition. I was leaving a teaching job. I was starting to think about having a family. We had just moved to a new place. Major transitions. And this mindfulness practice helped it make actually one of the most grounded periods of my life, which is the amazing part about the mindfulness practice is that those deep lows that I mentioned that disappeared with my mindfulness practice, they have actually not come back. I do get sad. I do have moments of low periods, but I don't get the regular pits that I used to fall into anymore. It's pretty amazing. I had them for 27 years and now I don't have them. And I credit that to my meditation practice. It really has made an awesome change in my life. So by the end of this podcast, I'm hoping that you will understand more about what mindfulness is and really want to try it in your own life. And some of the benefits that you're going to find is that your practice reduces stress, it reduces anxiety, and reduces depression. It's pretty awesome. So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is really a practice of intentionally returning our attention to the present moment. That means the feelings that we're having in the present moment, the things we're sensing in our body physically, the sights, the sounds, the thoughts. Intentionally returning our attention to the present moment with a sense of friendliness and without judgment. Notice I didn't say anywhere in that definition that meditation is about clearing your mind. Really, meditation is not about clearing your mind. Mindfulness is not about clearing your mind. Our brains, they think. They like to think. Brains just shoot out thoughts the way plants grow, the way trees grow. It's just what the brain does. And the purpose of mindfulness is not to stop your thinking and stop your thoughts. Instead, intentionally returning our attention to the present moment with friendliness and non-judgment is about actually making a better relationship with our thoughts and our brain, and about letting go of some of the struggle with our brain. It's training the mind just like we train the muscles. So it's about attention, okay? Normally our attention, we have this pretty discursive mind, which means that our mind is thinking about this and thinking about that. And then this morning I saw the paper and I saw a picture of Gloria Stefan, and all of a sudden the rhythm of It's Gonna Get You is like in my head. And that's what the brain does. It picks up on all these different things. It's really scanning the environment for threats. With a mindfulness practice, we're intentionally training our attention to the present moment, because the mind has a real tendency to not only travel forward in time, but also backward in time. And this is where a lot of our suffering comes from, is from our rumination and our thinking. They say that anxiety is when our thoughts and our minds are in the future, and depression is when our thoughts and minds are in the past. And so when we're in the present moment, when we're fully here, fully focused and attentive on what's happening, all those thoughts of the past and the future can drop away, and there's less suffering. There's less of that angst, anxiety. There's less of that I'm not good enough. All that stuff drops away as we focus our attention with friendliness to the sensations and thoughts and things that are happening in the present moment. So the benefits of mindfulness practice, of this practice of intentionally returning to the present moment, are huge. There's been a lot of research on mindfulness lately, and they've shown that mindfulness actually really physically changes the physical structure of your brain, which is so cool. So I invite you now to make a fist. And this is a wonderful exercise, I think, by Daniel Siegel came with that. So make a fist with your thumb inside your closed fingers. So this is your brain. Okay, so your wrist is your brain stem. And if you open your fingers and you look at your thumb, that is the lower, earlier evolved part of your brain, your reptilian brain, and that is the amygdala. And that is the seat of our emotions, and it's also the seat of our fight, flight, or freeze response. It's the seat of our stress response, okay? So this is, as this area is strengthened, this lower part of the brain, and we have a strong fight, flight, or freeze stress response. If you fold your fingers back over again, and you see sort of your knuckles, that is your prefrontal cortex, the area right behind your forehead, or the later evolved parts of your brain. Prefrontal cortex is responsible for thoughtfulness, impulse control. It's really the seat of our rest and relax response. So what some of the research about mindfulness has shown, which is so cool, is that it actually reduces the gray matter in the amygdala, the earlier evolved lower part of the brain, the stress response part of the brain, and actually increases the gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, later evolved rest and relax, impulse control, thoughtful part of the brain. So the metaphor or the analogy to training your mind is like training your muscles is really, really apt, because you are actually changing the physical structure of your brain. As these neurons, as you practice coming into this calmer response, into this relaxation response, it becomes easier for you to calm down as time goes on, and it becomes easier for you to have more impulse control, more self-regulation. And as you practice coming into the moment and noticing, say, a thought about the future, for me, that's what it always is. Every time I sit down in meditation, my brain always wants to plan, right? Planning is what I notice. As I notice that, I'm planning again, and I come back to my breath, which is my focus of attention in the present moment, I am releasing that thought of the future, and I'm coming back to that calm in the present moment, and I'm releasing that anxiety that may come with planning. And I'm getting more comfortable with the discomfort of sitting in that present moment and noticing what is there. So mindfulness meditation reduces your fight, flight, or freeze. It reduces your stress response. It reduces stress. It reduces anxiety. It reduces depression. And it increases your ability to get into that rest and relax response, which is really where the seed of healing and health comes from, which may be why research has shown that mindfulness meditators have less visits to the doctor, they get sick less often, they sleep better. And it just allows you to enjoy the present moment more thoroughly. So you're able to be present and savor what is happening here in the present moment. So as you're in your transitions in your life, things are happening, you can bring your mind more back to the present moment, when this is where we can actually deal with the things in our life, right? Thinking and ruminating about things doesn't help us. I mean, generally there's a place for planning and things like that, but we want to be able to have that self-regulation to be able to be present for whatever we want to do, whether it is planning or whether it's sitting with our breath or whether it's hanging out with our children or our grandchildren. The cool thing about mindfulness meditation is that it's so simple. If you can breathe, you can practice. It's very, very simple, but it's very, very hard. So simple is not the same as easy, okay? There's actually, as we practice, the easiest focus of our attention in the present moment is our breath. So you can try it right now. As you breathe in, feel your breath at your nose as it comes in your nose. And feel your breath as it comes out your nose. And then try that again. Take a breath in your nose and a breath out. So if you continue to practice here rather than listen to this podcast, you would really quickly get distracted. Your brain would start to wander. Your mind would start to wander. You'd think about something. Sometimes you think about thinking, and that's a whole other part of it. This mindfulness practice is very simple but challenging, and in fact, there is a word for it. It's called noble failure. Meditators for thousands of years have noticed that it is so hard to stay in the present moment, so much that they coined this term noble failure. Noble failure is a stage that every single meditator goes through. It's that what we're attempting to do is we're attempting to bring our attention back to our breath, say again and again for maybe 5 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. And we realize that we can't, that we're going to fail again and again and again. And that's okay. That's just part of the process. It's part of training the mind. The thing about our mindfulness meditation is that you're still going to get the benefits of the reduced stress, the reduced anxiety and depression, and the increased calm, clarity, and ease. It's just about having persistence and continuing to practice. It's a very simple practice. It has incredible benefits, and the benefits only accrue through actually doing it, through actual practice. Listening to a podcast is wonderful to support your practice, but it's no substitute for putting your butt in your chair. And it can be really simple. So for me, I really thrived on sitting formal meditation. Nothing else got me to quite the same place of peace and equanimity that sitting formal meditation did. these other things are really wonderful and can support a practice. And for some people, that might be enough. But for me, my brain needed a lot more help. I really recommend, as sort of the gold standard for sitting down with our brains and with all our challenges and all our difficulties, is sitting meditation. And I really recommend that you actually make it quite small. I mean, there's something to say for time on the cushion or on the chair or whatever it is, but it's better to have a continued, persistent practice that you can actually do. You can actually fit into your life, and then it can grow over time. Let's make this as easy and comfortable as possible. So I do a virtual mindfulness retreat, and I've led thousands of people actually through really small versions of meditation. So 3 minutes of sitting meditation, 5 minutes of sitting meditation. And when you sit, you can sit in a chair. You don't have to sit cross-legged on the floor. In fact, that's for most of us in the West, this is like not a great idea, actually, because it's uncomfortable for our bodies to sit cross-legged. You want to have a nice tall spine. You want the curvature of your back. You want to have a nice alert and upright posture so that as you start to breathe, you're bringing your body into a place where your physiology is saying that you are coming into a place of attention, and you're bringing your mind there as well. So you can try starting with 5 minutes of sitting meditation. Just set a timer, 5 minutes, see how it goes. Start with 3 minutes. 3 minutes is really challenging. And aim for, 6 days a week, not taking 2 days off in a row. I like to have a lazy day. It's good to have a lazy day. You can also do some really gentle yoga where you're very mindful about moving your body. You can also do walking meditation for 5 minutes. So there's ways to practice that can be simple and easy to bring into your life that don't take a lot of time, and you can actually start to accrue these benefits of grounding yourself and getting that calm and that clarity through all the different transitions we're going through in our lives, right? And when you practice this mindfulness practice, you'll find that it really does give you a sense of equanimity, and it gives you a sense of more ease in your body and your mind and your spirit, bringing yourself together more fully as a whole. So I really want you to try this. I want you to try to set aside 5 minutes to practice each day. I really recommend the morning because it sets the day off in a nice way, but a lot of people like ending the day this way too. Set aside 5 minutes to practice each day. I like to read a little something beforehand, and then you set a timer, and I set my time to practice. And this is for you. This isn't just for monks or yogis. I mean, there's CEOs and celebrities who practice. It's really come into the mainstream, and it can be for you. If you can breathe, you can practice and get these amazing benefits with no side effects. And some of the benefits are that you're really going to increase your calm, your clarity, your ease, your impulse control. And it's freeing. This discipline really frees up our minds to just sit in comfort in the present moment. It's a beautiful, amazing, life-changing practice. So I want you to think about it this way. 2,600 years ago, the Buddha sat down, right? And he sat down and he was assailed by doubt and fear, and all these negative emotions came to him, but he just kept sitting still. He kept sitting with them. And I like to think of it as kind of like a brain hack, right? We've got life hacks. Meditation is like a brain hack or a life hack, in that he discovered wow, if I just sit still and breathe through this stuff and practice being non-reactive, whoa, I get happier. I have more calm, more clarity and ease. I mean, it's like I reduce my suffering, and all of us carry around so much suffering. Why don't we use this awesome brain hack to decrease it, to increase the quality of our lives? And another beautiful benefit that is so, so important is that as we do this, we're going to be not only more present for ourselves, but more present for everyone in our lives, more present for our children, for our grandchildren, for those we love. We can be there with them, and as we are able to be there with ourselves. So, my friend, please go try it. Set aside 5 minutes today, set it aside tomorrow, make a practice plan, and absolutely let me know how it goes. You can email me at hunter@hunteryoga.com, or you can catch me on Twitter. Hunter C Yoga is my handle. Is that what it is in Twitter? Anyway, try out this mindfulness meditation. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this podcast. This is a solo podcast. You can find the show notes for it at yogastoriesproject.com. And I thank you so much for your ears today. And I hope this podcast inspires you and inspires you to start your own practice. And the thing that's wonderful about it is that truly, as you create more peace in yourself, you do create more peace for the world. So it is not a selfish thing. This is actually a gift of the heart. So give this gift of the heart to yourself and to all of us. And thank you so much for your ears today, my friend. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode about mindfulness, liked hearing maybe about my own story. I don't know. Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. If you would like to remember, if you'd like to leave a review on iTunes, leave that review and then email me your review at hunter@hunteryoga.com, and I will be writing you your handwritten note. We can be pen pals, and I can thank you for your review. So please go ahead and do that and share this show and check out presentmamacommunity.com. And one more shout out to William Fields for the music. You can find out more about his music and this amazing visual stuff he's doing. I don't know if it'll be up by the time you listen to this at williamfields.com. So thanks again so much for listening. Have a great week. Namaste.